Welcome everyone to AEW Double or Nothing 2021. This is the buy-in here on TEW 2020. The match then taking place on the buy-in. Jeff Cobb and Ricky Starks of Team Taz against Jurassic Express. A match that was made on last week's episode of Dark. And after a decent reaction from the crowd at subpar wrestling, after 11 minutes 30, Jeff Cobb and Ricky Starks defeat Jurassic Express. Starks pinning Jungle Boy, getting one over on Jungle Boy after Jungle Boy beat Starks on that episode of Dark. This time, it was a quick roll-up. That is the buy-in.
All Elite Wrestling presents Double or Nothing.
Pyro erupts from the huge Double or Nothing set. And JR goes on to say, over 17,000 fans are jam-packed within the MGM Arena live here in Las Vegas to witness the biggest show of the year, AEW Double or Nothing. Tonight, the landscape changes. There is no going back. Lines have been drawn. Thank you all for being with us. With me, Excalibur and Tony Schiavone. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, JR. What a stat card we have for you. Tonight, we'll see Jon Moxley plays AEW World Championship on the line against Kenny Omega with Steve Austin as the enforcer. The Young Bucks face FTR once more. This time, the tag team titles are on the line. And Cody faces the impossible challenge of Miro. Toni Storm will defend her women's title against Dr. Britt Baker. But kicking things off tonight, gentlemen, it's the men's casino ladder match. Who is going to earn a future AEW Championship match? Let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. So we get a 64 segment rating here in front of over 17,000 fans at the MGM Arena. So let's take a quick look at the card then. Yes, tonight's main event, Jon Moxley against Kenny Omega with the AEW Championship on the line. Steve Austin as the enforcer. FTR put their tag team titles on the line against the Young Bucks. Toni Storm faces Dr. Britt Baker with her AEW Women's Championship on the line. Cody Rhodes looks to take on Miro for the TNT title. Also, MJF versus the Bastard Pac. And Chris Jericho versus Sammy Guevara in AEW's first ever ambulance match. We've got the Women's Casino Ladder match. 6 competitors taking part in that. And up next, the Men's Casino Ladder match to kick off the biggest show of the year, Double or Nothing. It's a Men's Casino Ladder match. In a bout that had great heat and good wrestling. After 19 minutes 39, climbing to the top and retrieving that poker chip which will guarantee a future AEW World Championship match is none other than Hangman Adam Page. He defeated Joey Janela, Brian Cage, Shinsuke Nakamura, Darby Allin and Jeff Hardy in this men's casino ladder match. And, well, everyone coming out on top in this, putting in a fantastic performance all around. Joey Janela, the only one that was in the 50s there with that in-ring performance. Shinsuke Nakamura was really off his game, but we got a 75. It's a great way to open the show. We had Darby Allin taking just a stump bump, but we had Jeff Hardy taking a crazy stump bump, which is the first time I've done that in this save. Hangman Page is atop the ladder after retrieving the casino chip, which grants him a future shot at the World Championship. He's screaming. He's over the moon. He can't believe it. He is spent as he slowly makes his way down the ladder. As he climbs out the ring with the chip and begins to make his way up the ramp, MJF shows his face and is congratulating him. And then both leave. So what an opening to Double or Nothing, that men's casino ladder match. And we still have that interaction there between Page and MJF, all part of Pinnacle. Earlier today, the Elite / Bullet Club was seen arriving at the MGM Arena here in Las Vegas. Kenny Omega, Carl Anderson, Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, Doc Gallows and Don Callis is there also with some encouraging words for all of them. The cameraman watches them head inside, so you can imagine they've got their suitcases travelling inside the MGM for the biggest show of the year, with Kenny Omega in that big main event against Jon Moxley for the World Championship. A promo then plays, hyping the next match of the evening, which will see the Man Mountain Miro defend his TNT Championship against Cody Rhodes. He's finally getting some opposition for that TNT title since winning it. And I'd like to think that I've built this just nicely, kind of similar to Rocky versus Drago on Rocky 4. Up next we see Cody Rhodes. He makes his elaborate entrance as challenger. Before he gets any closer to the ring though, he turns to the entrance and woe and behold, Double A, Arn Anderson, walks out, back to his best it seems, after Miro attacked him a few weeks ago backstage. He left him in a bloody mess, if you remember, on that episode of Dynamite. Well, Arn Anderson back, fully healed, and he's ready to support Cody Rhodes in the next match of the evening with the TNT title on the line in a bout that had fantastic heat and decent wrestling after 12 minutes 55 by pinfall, and new TNT champion Cody Rhodes. He defeats Miro after a beautiful disaster. Cody Rhodes putting in a 70 in-ring performance. Miro seems kind of off his game, but that probably has something to do with the fact that both of these just don't click at all, which is a bit disappointing because I think these two in real life will put on quite a show. But saying that, the match got the crowd buzzing, even though I think the men's casino ladder match would have done that already, getting a much better segment rating. But looking at the dirt sheet here, there's not really much to go off, just the fact that they didn't have good chemistry, and that brought the rating down. But I'm still happy with the 71, and we've still got the outcome of Cody Rhodes being new TNT champion. He has done it. He has overcome the mountain that is Miro to become new TNT champion. He breaks down in the middle of the ring as he grabs tight to the TNT title. You can see how much this means to him after everything Miro's put him and his family and friends through for the past month or so. He stands up and he's hugged by Double A on Anderson, and the camera switches to Miro at the top of the entranceway with an evil look on his face. So Miro's TNT title reign cut kind of short, but there's bigger plans in the works for Miro. Maybe he comes back with a vengeance. We'll have to wait and see. We then head backstage. Shayna Baszler is seen walking through the backstage corridor ready for the women's casino ladder match for later this evening. Out of nowhere, Nyla Rose attacks. She is relentless. Baszler is hurt. Nyla walks off and is heard saying, "It's my spot. I'm taking it." Medics are quick on the scene. Brandy is there, also after being called, and she wants to know if Baszler can continue tonight. The medics and even Doc Sampson shake their heads and say that Baszler can't make the women's casino ladder match later this evening, and that's because Baszler is actually retiring, and well, she also doesn't take part in these high risk matches, which is such a damn shame. Toni Storm then makes an elaborate entrance as the defending AEW Women's Champion. Dr. Britt Baker waits in the ring. These two women are about to go to war. In a bout that had a decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling. After 10 minutes 31, and still AEW Women's Champion Toni Storm. She hit her strong zero on Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and she makes defense number 4 of the Women's Championship title. And as planned, this match did bring the fans down just a little bit after those two crazy matches to start the biggest show of the year, Double or Nothing. And both women do really well. Dr. Britt Baker, much more improved performance in the ring. Toni Storm doing really well as well, getting a 56 there. Imagine her in a match against maybe someone like Shayna Baszler. It's only on the rise, this women's division. And after the match, Toni Storm is still your women's champion, a hard-fought victory against Dr. Britt Baker. Storm will find out soon, though, who she could be facing in the future for her title after the women's casino ladder match. And that is a match that will be on, I think, just before the main event, or I think I put it before MJF versus Pac, just to calm the crowd down once again, because we have some big matches in the middle here for this show. Dax and Cash are seen backstage in the Pinnacle's locker room. Tully, Blanchard and Ric Flair are there also and are discussing their tag team title defense against the Young Bucks late tonight. Tully fires them up. Page then walks in with his casino chip that he won in the ladder match. He wants FTR to go defend the titles now. Pinnacle want a clean sweep tonight here at Double or Nothing. Page asks where MJF is and Dax tells him he seems busy with a call. He seemed excited too. Maybe a little happy. So I wonder what that call could all be about with MJF as we get a 67 here. Not too worried about that. As long as we bring it on home with all of our matches here tonight, I will be happy. That is what our main focus is on, and with the ratings. Up next is the ambulance match. It's backed up near the entranceway. Judas begins to play as Chris Jericho makes his way out. He certainly was Judas as part of the inner circle, turning his back on Sammy Guevara, wasn't he? He stops, takes a look at the ambulance, many thoughts going through his head. Will he and his career end in the back of it, or will Sammy's career be cut incredibly short, and will Sammy end up back at A&E, where Jericho sent him last month after attacking him, so that he could take Guevara's spot in the World Title Eliminator Tournament? We get a huge 83 segment rating for that, as we head into our first ambulance match of AEW of this TEW 2020 series. And let's see how it turned out then. You can imagine Guevara making his way to the ring also in a bout that had fantastic heat and good wrestling. After 12 minutes 47, you can't have these sort of matches go on for much longer than that, really. Chris Jericho defeats Sammy Guevara. He placed Guevara in the back of the ambulance. As you can see, Sammy Guevara was trapped. We got 74 for this, and I was so good because, obviously, I wanted to put Guevara over in this match. That was the plan, to springboard Guevara's career, getting such a big win over veteran Chris Jericho. But for some reason, Jericho just didn't want to do it. He didn't want to put Guevara over. He didn't feel as though Guevara was at that stage, that point in his career where it was acceptable, which is why we see this segment now. Chris Jericho has done it, but only just. He hit Sammy with a Judas effect, knocked him out, and then threw him into the ambulance. Jericho begins to celebrate, but it's cut short as Team Taz, Brian Cage, Jeff Cobb, former Inner Circle member, rush out. They beat down Jericho. Cage and Cobb pick him up onto their shoulders and run him headfirst into the side of the ambulance. Taz opens the door, grabs Sammy Guevara out with the stretcher. Meanwhile, Jeff Cobb drags Jericho over, hoists him up, and sends him on a tour of the islands onto the stretcher. Team Taz place Jericho in the back of the ambulance and slam the doors. Sirens wail, and the ambulance begins to leave. Sammy stands with Team Taz, it seems, as the ambulance makes it outside. A truck slams into the side of it. Holy shit, it's mayhem. Ricky Starks is behind the wheel. Is Jericho okay? So shades of what happened at No Way Out all those years ago with the NWO, with that ambulance getting smashed up by the truck, and we've got Ricky Starks this time behind the wheel. And it seems as though Sammy Guevara stands with Team Taz. Team Taz did say not so long ago that he's been making a few acquisitions, and well, seems Sammy Guevara is one of those. Team Taz, new and improved, and looking better than ever. And well, I expect to be seeing a lot of this Team Taz over the next couple of episodes of Dynamite, building them up to maybe something special. Up next, JR, Excalibur and Tony Schiavone discuss what to expect on this week's upcoming episode of AEW Dynamite. There's going to be 2 Fatal 4-Way Tag Team matches. The winners of those will then face one another. The winner of that match will receive a shot at the tag titles. What next for the AEW World Champion? Whether that Jon Moxley or Kenny Omega, we'll find out. Team Taz set to continue their dominance now that Sammy Guevara is with them, and just announced the Dark Order will reveal their new Exalted One. You guys do not want to miss that. The next episode of Dynamite should be a hot one. I hope so anyway, as we get 60 with this interaction between JR, Excalibur and Tony Schiavone, our commentary team. I'm thinking in 3 weeks' time we're going to have a special event, a special episode of Dynamite, which will be Beach Blast. You guys don't want to miss it. Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, wearing new attire, make an elaborate entrance ahead of the World Tag Team Championship match against FTR. Money explodes from the entranceway and then begins to rain down on the fans in attendance, who will walk out as AEW Tag Team Champions. Will FTR successfully defend them and beat the Young Bucks yet again, just like they did back at All Out? Or will we have new champions in the Young Bucks? And we get just a 67 from this segment, so not too fussed about that. Nick Jackson benefit from having a groundswell of public support. I was kind of hoping it was going to be breaking into the 70s, having just Matt and Nick Jackson with this freestyle angle, but just wasn't to be. But it brings it on home. In About That had superb wrestling and great heat. I think this is probably a better match rating that we got in their original meeting back at Full Gear. So, a superb wrestling match with great heat. After 33 minutes, and new AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks. They defeated FTR in 33 minutes. What a long match that is. And the Young Bucks picking up the win after a Meltzer drive. And we get an 83 for this match. Cash Wheeler underperforming slightly. Dax Harwood, his in-ring performances week in, week out, just continue to improve. It's fantastic to see. Matt and Nick, though, with their 100 chemistry tag team rating, well, they just did not hold back. They just went for it. Excalibur was pretty weak at the commentary desk. It's a bit of a shame to see that, because obviously it's held back the segment rating, the overall match rating, but I'm not going to change the commentary team. I love JR, Excalibur and Shivani as a team. And new AEW World Tag Team Champions Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks, they have done it. They can't believe it. They've won the titles for the first time here in AEW, finally overcoming FTR. So that makes them even now, because it was FTR that beat them back at Full Gear. Dax and Cash look beat as they make their way up the entranceway. Hangman Page comes out and meets them, checks on them, then turns his attention to the Bucks, who are equally tired in the ring, holding the tag team titles. Page stares at Matt and Nick, who stare back also. After a moment, Page can be heard saying, "This ain't over." He then gathers Dax and Cash, and they leave. So we have new tag team champions in the Young Bucks, whereas Hangman Page almost threatening his former friends, the Young Bucks, that this ain't over. So where will this take us? Hangman Page, MJF, they seem to be doing really well together as a team. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe they'll put up a fight for those tag titles, put up a good account for them, maybe in a future episode of Dynamite, maybe at Beach Blast. We'll have to wait and see. Up next then, a shot of Stone Cold Steve Austin is shown walking down the corridor ahead of the big AEW World Championship main event match between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, which he'll be official enforcer of. A quick transition then shows Jon Moxley in another area backstage, warming himself up with his AEW title perched on the side. And finally, we see Kenny Omega receiving some encouraging words yet again from the invisible hand, Don Callis. Just constantly hyping up that big main event. It's what we've been doing for the past year or so, and it all comes down to the main event. I just can't wait to see how well it turns out. Whether Moxley and Omega will be able to steal the show, we'll have to wait and see. Up next is the Women's Casino Ladder Match, and in a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd but subpar wrestling. After 12 minutes and 3, so kind of a short ladder match here for the women, and it did well in bringing the fans down a little. Kris Statlander took a stump bump during this match, and retrieving that casino chip was none other than Tessa Blanchard. She has now earned a future shot at the AEW Women's Championship. So it could finally all come down to Tessa and Toni Storm for that women's title. You can see at the end of the match, Tessa stands at the top of the ladder as winner of the Women's Casino Ladder Match. She has now earned a future shot at the Women's Championship against Toni Storm. When that match will take place, well, that's the beauty of it. We could have it main event an episode of Dynamite. We could have it on the card at Beach Blast in 3 weeks' time, or we could just wait until the next big pay-per-view and continue to build towards it. And I know I need to do more with the women's division, so we know that Tessa will face Toni Storm for that championship at some point. Up next, MJF begins to make his entrance as the bastard Pac waits in the ring. MJF has a mic and starts by saying he has a small announcement to make. He has let himself down and he's spent many a night wondering, what if? Well, he doesn't have to anymore. As always, money talks, and the only way you can get money is by being the pinnacle of this glorious sport. He has put all of his differences aside and has finally reached an agreement once again with War Dog Wardlow. Wardlow walks out smartly dressed. MJF is proud as punch as he shakes hands with Wardlow. So, MJF and Wardlow, I didn't really like splitting them up not so long ago. So now they're reunited once again, and I felt this was the perfect time to announce this instead of saving it for the next episode of Dynamite. And it seems tensions between both are over. Both make their way to the ring, and MJF, as always, passes his Dynamite ring to Wardlow ahead of this match between MJF and Pac. A rematch for what happened in that World Title Eliminator Tournament, and it's a superb match. And after 13 minutes 24, MJF hit his double cross and got the 3 count on Pac after an interference from Wardlow. He was always going to interfere. Wardlow with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, smacking Pac across the head as the ref has his back turned. MJF taking advantage. A simple double cross there. Hooks the leg, gets the pin, and we get a 77 for this match. The penultimate match of Double or Nothing. The biggest show of the year. Well, after this match, Pac is on his knees. MJF kicks him in the side of the head. Pac looks out. Wardlow steps up and into the ring with eyes on Pac. Phoenix and Penta race out and slide into the ring looking to make the save for Pac before it's too late. Wardlow spins around and clotheslines them both. He grabs Phoenix like a ragdoll and hits a huge F10. He then targets Penta. MJF watches on with a smirk. Wardlow is unleashed. He hits another F10 to Penta. MJF and Wardlow place a death triangle on top of one another, similar to what Death Triangle did when they first debuted to the Best Friends. MJF and Wardlow of Pinnacle leave. So yes, very similar to what's happened in real life, having Wardlow a part of Pinnacle, but we're going to be seeing a bit more involvement from Wardlow in this save now. He's not just going to be the bodyguard of MJF. He's going to be getting in the ring. He's going to be maybe facing the likes of Rey Fenix and Penta, maybe even putting up a challenge for Cody's TNT title. We're going to get him involved. And it's only a matter of time before all that happens and more. Up next, Alex Marvez is standing by with the newly crowned TNT champion Cody Rhodes. He congratulates Cody and asks him how it feels. Cody is so happy to have overcome Miro. Not many are willing to step into the ring with someone like Miro, but Cody had to. There was no other option. And to come out of it as TNT champion, it's bittersweet. He is proud to now be the face of the network, the face of TNT, but the work doesn't stop there. It's only just begun, and he wants to showcase the very best talent AEW in the world has to offer. More on that this Wednesday on Dynamite. So Cody Rhodes cutting a promo there as the new face of the network that is TNT. What will go down on Dynamite this Wednesday? Will Miro want a rematch? We'll have to wait and see. Steve Austin makes his entrance as enforcer for the main event of the evening. He stands ringside. Out first making an elaborate entrance is Kenny Omega. He's joined by Don Callis and the Good Brothers. Steve Austin steps up to them, and when they get close, he tells Callis and the Good Brothers to leave. And they do, willingly. Out next is the current AEW World Champion. Making his way through the crowd is Jon Moxley. It's a big match feel as both finally stand in the ring, face to face. Aubrey Edwards holds the title up. Austin watches on from the outside as the bell rings for the Double or Nothing main event. The angle getting the crowd hotter. Kenny, Moxley, all looking like a real star in this segment. Austin came out of it looking excellent also. Just a pity that it says the lack of anything interesting happening was a problem in this segment. It's probably because I set them all to star quality, looking for that massive rating, but we only got a 66, so it's kind of backfired on us. The main event then. Wow. It's an exceptional match. After almost 40 minutes, a new AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega. 38 minutes 09 is how long this match took. Kenny Omega wins after a one-winged angel and after a fast count from Stone Cold Steve Austin. How could you, Austin? Why? What does this mean? Look at Moxley and Kenny's in-ring performance there. 94 for Mox, 92 for Kenny. Excalibur was pretty weak, so this match probably would have been a lot better rated if he wasn't on commentary. But again, going back to that tag team match between the Bucks and FTR, I'm not going to change the commentary team. I feel as though the show's done pretty well anyway. The workers should pace the match. I did set to epic, which was the first time I've done that on this save. The idea, the thinking behind the ending was to have Aubrey Edwards get taken out, Austin step in as the referee, because enforcers can do that in the world of wrestling, and he did hit that fast count, and we was penalised for a burned out crowd. I did think that having them get called down, I suppose it was only a little bit, wasn't it, for that women's casino ladder match. It just wasn't enough because we had MJF fight Pac in between. So here we go, our final segment then. Our new AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega. Steve Austin has a rattlesnake evil grin on his face after screwing Jon Moxley over. Omega can't believe it. He hugs that AEW title hard and holds it up for the world to see. And as you can imagine, JR is going berserk, almost losing his voice like I am as well. God damn you, Austin! Mox slowly but surely gets to his feet. He's uneasy. Austin looks him in the eyes. Middle finger kick to the midsection. Stunner. Why, Austin? Why? Omega is laughing. He shakes hands with Steve Austin. Beers are called for and shared. Callis makes his way out to the ring, and so do the Good Brothers. Beer everywhere. Double or Nothing goes off the air with Mox laid out. Omega, Callis and Good Brothers sharing some cold ones with Austin, and JR screaming, God damn you, Austin. Why? Similar to what we saw back in 2001 with Invasion when Austin turned heel on Team WWF with Kurt Angle. The heat he got after that, making that decision to turn heel, well, you can just imagine. And the same goes for this as well. Just imagine the main event pay-per-view after both guys put in such an incredible performance, and it ends like that with Austin screwing Moxley out of his AEW World Championship. But why? Why Austin? We're going to find out very soon on Dynamite, but the biggest show of the year gets a massive overall rating of 87. It's our biggest show yet in this AEW save on TEW 2020, and it's our biggest rating yet as well. We haven't managed to get an 87 or anywhere close to 90 for a pay-per-view event yet, and we've only been going, well, still under a year in game time. The best match of the night was the Young Bucks defeating FTR, and MJF and Pac came very close to that. Obviously the main event was superb with that 82 between Mox and Omega. So we have some new champions after Double or Nothing. Omega the Young Bucks, Cody. Where's it all leading? Join me for Dynamite. Thanks for watching.